From Fox 8, this is breaking news.
Breaking tonight, Donald Trump.
Microphone.
His attorney says a grand jury in New York City just indicted Trump. You're taking a live look right now at the outside of the Manhattan District Attorney's office. Good evening, I am Lee Zurich.
And I'm Meg Gatto. The charges involve payments made during the 2016 presidential campaign with alleged hush money to silence Stormy Daniels and claims of an extramarital sexual encounter.
Trump has insisted he did nothing wrong. Both the 76-year-old former president and his lawyers have said the charges are politically motivated and have suggested he was a victim of extortion. The specific charges were not immediately made public. A person familiar with the matter told the Associated Press that Trump is expected to surrender to authorities next week. We are joined on the phone by former U.S. Attorney Harry Rosenberg. Thanks for joining us here. And just to be clear, these are state charges. These are not federal charges against Trump. These are state charges. Harry, what are your thoughts on this coming down today?
Well, without a doubt, Lee and Meg, it's a historic moment. It's the first president to be charged criminally with an indictment. And, of course, we know that the indictment has been sealed, which is also unusual, but we'll have to wait and see once it's made public exactly what the charges are in the indictment.
Harry, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office said that the arraignment cannot be done virtually like is done, a lot of places across the country during the pandemic. So the former president will have to appear in New York, right, to be processed after this indictment. Yeah,
I mean, Maggie, I think that's what folks expect as part of the criminal justice system, is that it's not going to be a Zoom arraignment or appearance.
Harry, keep going. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to add quickly, Lee, but I think the real telling point is what is exactly going to be charged, and I think as everybody anticipates, the political as well as the legal consequences and the divided public sentiment about charging the President of the United States, former President of the United States, I should clarify, with a criminal indictment that apparently stems from payments made to hush up an affair with a former porn star.
So this is an indictment. He hasn't been proven innocent or guilty, and it's a state indictment, as we talked about. What about, is it still these days, especially in the state of New York, can you basically, you've heard this, you can indict anyone. How hard is it to go from indictment to trial, and how long can that process take?
Well, I think under these circumstances, Lee, I think we can expect that the trial is not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a while. You're going to expect a slew of pretrial motions by his attorneys, putting aside the political aspects of this indictment. But you're going to see a protracted legal proceeding in this criminal matter, which is fairly nominal in the scheme of things, while you've got other special counsel investigating Mr. Trump's other activities.
Harry, can you talk a little bit about the process for people who maybe don't know how the grand jury kind of got to this point? For weeks, we've been hearing that there could potentially be an indictment. Mr. Trump calling this a witch hunt. Can you just talk about kind of the behind the scenes? How often does the grand jury meet? What type of evidence do they hear to get to this point today?
Sure. Well, it depends upon each jurisdiction, both state and federal. They typically will meet at least once a week, sometimes more frequently, Meg. It will normally be for most of the day for those grand jurors, because they have to hear evidence which will come from a number of individuals, although we know that the former attorney for Mr. Trump is going to be one of the key witnesses, and likely was one of the key witnesses before the grand jury. And of course, his credibility as a convicted felon is going to be challenged by, heavily challenged by Mr. Trump's attorneys.
Harry, you noted that this is obviously unprecedented. Touching on the political aspect of this, Mr. Trump has said he will continue to run his campaign for president despite potentially being indicted. He made those comments before today. Can you talk about that, how unusual, how unprecedented that is?
Well, I don't think it's hard to know whether there's a precedent or not, Meg, because we've never had a president of the United States, fortunately, who's been criminally charged. But I have to anticipate and almost speculate that Mr. Trump announced his intentions to run for re-election in 2024 as a result of his expectation of what has happened today, this indictment against him, because I think it becomes more of as much of a political moment as a legal situation.
And that kind of leads me to my next question. And I think it is important to point out, correct me if I'm wrong, but George H.W. Bush appointed you as U.S. Attorney here in the Eastern District, right? So,
correct.
So you have, you've been in the political circles, if you will, in that sense. You have as you said, the first American president getting indicted. You talked about his legal team trying to push this off as long as possible. There's a presidential election coming up in 2024. You have a state that is heavy on the Democratic side, certainly an area of the state in New York City where he is indicted. All of those factors kind of playing together, what are we in for over the next year or two?
I think it's going to be a rock and roll session, Lee and Meg. I mean, as we all expect, it was already a roller coaster ride with Mr. Trump while he was president, and now that he's been indicted, according to the media, although we have not seen the indictment. And of course, as you correctly point out, he's not guilty until there's a trial, which he's entitled to have. But I think that it's fair to say that what is unusual is the nature of this charge coming from New York State grand jury against the President of the United States. It doesn't seem to have national ramifications, if you will, other than the fact that it's a former president who's been criminally charged.
All right, former U.S. Attorney Harry Rosenberg, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your time tonight. It's a pleasure, and hopefully we can see what the indictment reveals in short order, which I think is incumbent upon the district attorney.
Well said. All right, thank you.
Thank you both.